everyone, it's Elizabeth from Elpis Astrology at elpisastrology.com. Hope everyone's doing well. So this video is an important video for the upcoming Mercury Retrograde that'll officially start in December 2023. It's actually, I think, one of the most important Mercury retrogrades because of its connections, especially with Pluto. And I'll get into that as we go through this video. So bear with me. This is a little more advanced for, say, people who are just starting astrology. So you might have to listen to this a few times. I'll do my best to explain things as well as possible. But it is a story about Mercury. And it starts off with Mercury in its shadow in November and ends up being connected in with the Sun conjunct Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So that's a little bit of a spoiler alert, I guess, but I'm just giving you the picture, the big picture, very Sagittarius. And then I'm going to delve into the details with dates. I am going to do your ascendants and sun signs later. I do have my own charts with me too, because I may need, there's quite a few of them. I'm going to be referring to them. But obviously on the video, I will have the charts and they'll be animated so you can see what I'm talking about as well, right? All right, so when we look at this whole Mercury going retrograde, it actually goes into two signs during the retrograde, and during the retrograde period itself. It is approximately half the time in Capricorn and half the time in Sagittarius. But it starts off with the shadow period in Sagittarius, and that's going to be on the 26th of November at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. It will be in its shadow. So that's coming up pretty soon. I'm here in about the second week of November 2023. So when we look at where the retrograde starts, which is in Capricorn, we know that Saturn rules Capricorn. And some of the sort of auspices of Capricorn and Saturn here, it represents responsibilities. It's where we put effort. It's sometimes where our hardships are or where we have a hard time. It can also be where we have tests. It's the old way of doing things. It can represent authority figures. It can also represent growing up. And it also can refer to, especially with the Mercury part in Capricorn, it's an old way of thinking. It can also be pessimistic thoughts as well. Now, when we look at the other sign that Mercury will be in, it's going to be Sagittarius. And of course, Jupiter rules Sagittarius. And that's an important point to remember in December. I'll get to that in a minute. So Sagittarius likes to see the big picture. It likes to see the future. It has optimism at its base. It likes to give benefits and gifts. It's also about taking risks. It represents, as a sign, foreign people and foreign things. It also represents travel, the law, higher consciousness, and, philosophy. But at its best, it's meaning in life. It's new positive thinking when we take Mercury into the picture with Sagittarius. And it can be over-optimistic as well. Now, technically, Mercury in Sagittarius is in its detriment, and so it just means that it can be a little weaker there. But that might not be a bad thing, considering that you can be overly optimistic, right? So at this Mercury retrograde, we also have another energy that's going to be operating the whole time during the Mercury retrograde, starting at the shadow period at the end of November. And that is Mercury will be squaring Neptune in Pisces, right? And that will be when Mercury is actually in Sagittarius, right? So most of that part of the shadow period is going to be in Sagittarius, but then of course it goes back and forth due to the retrograde and direct motion. So we have this Mercury going as a square to Neptune, and this puts an extra emphasis on potential challenges with regards to what? Our philosophies, our spiritual values, as well as, any of our belief systems are all going to be under sort of a challenge where we're going to have to be looking carefully at them. So I just wanted to mention that as an overall kind of theme or extra energy that goes on top of this Mercury retrograde, right? And if we look at the Mercury retrograde officially starting in Capricorn, they refer to those old archaic beliefs, right? So those are the kind of areas, especially in the collective. So that's kind of when we're referring to the world events. Those are the areas that we're going to be probably seeing considered at this Mercury retrograde. Now, I mentioned that Jupiter rules Sagittarius, which is where this Mercury retrograde will go direct. And it's important to remember that Jupiter, transiting Jupiter, ruler of Sagittarius, will go direct on the 31st of December. All right, let's go through the actual timeline and some of the things that I think it may mean for us. All right, so we talked about already that Mercury in shadow starts off on the 26th of November at 22 degrees Sagittarius. It goes on then to do its actual retrograde. Now, what's interesting is this Mercury retrograde, which will be at 8 degrees, 29 minutes of Capricorn, happens on the same day as we have that new moon in Sagittarius at approximately 20 degrees of Sagittarius. Now, this is going to be Pacific time, okay? If we're looking at the East Coast, it's going to actually be the next day in terms of the Mercury retrograde. Why? Because the new moon itself, and I'm going to be talking about this new moon in Sagittarius in my December video, which I will be doing next after this one. The new moon will be at 3:32 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But then we're going to have that Mercury retrograde go retrograde at 11:10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the 12th of December, 2023. So on that day, we're going to have the new moon in Sagittarius. That means the sun is in Sagittarius. And we also have, not conjuncting it, but in that sign, we're going to have Mars in Sagittarius. So go back to my little diatribe that I talked about with regards to what is Sagittarius, what areas of Sagittarius, life does Sagittarius bring up, and Jupiter, what does it bring up? Those will be aspected around this new moon. And like I said, I'll be discussing the new moon itself more in my December video. All right, so then the next thing that we have happening at this Mercury retrograde is I wanted to look at a few things. I wanted to look at the Palestinian chart for that time period. So when this particular, and we'll see the chart up here so you can see what I'm talking about, but I'm going to be looking at my notes as well here and the charts. When we look at Palestine's chart, we know that Mercury retrograde time period, actually it conjuncts Palestine's Neptune. So this brings in, because it's the retrograde, right? It brings in potential deceit, confusion, fogginess. It can bring in sort of a hidden type thing, where it can also just on its base have us reflecting on, our spirituality, that type of thing too. Now, transiting Pluto, as you can see in the chart, will be at 28 degrees of Capricorn. And it will conjunct Palestine's moon. So this whole new moon in Sagittarius with the Mercury retrograde going on the same day, Pacific time, is going to be aspecting a number of things in the Palestinians' chart. Now, I took the chart for the 15th of November, 1988. I did consider and look around and consult with other astrologers, and it seems like this may be the best chart. But hey, you may find other astrologers decide to pick another chart for the beginning of Palestine as a state, right? So we know that if transiting Pluto is conjunct the Palestinians' moon, we know that the moon represents the people. So this is going to be great transformation of the Palestinians, but Pluto can also represent power. So this is like potentially big power over the people of Palestine. And we already know things are going on right now. I'm not going to get into a lot of the politics. It's just that this stood out for me with regards to world events right now. Now, the next thing we've got happening is that Mercury is going to go direct. It will go direct at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. And that actually is going to be Pacific time. That's actually going to be on the 1st of January, which I thought was really interesting. It's going to be on the 1st of January 2024 at 7:08 p.m. And that's Pacific Standard Time. So it's interesting that, we're going to have Jupiter the previous day go direct, and then we have Mercury going direct the following day. In that very optimistic sign, go back to what I was talking about with regards to Sagittarius, at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. And recall that that whole new moon in Sagittarius was at almost 21 degrees of Sagittarius, awfully close to this Mercury going direct at 22 Sagittarius. So this has us, now that this Mercury is going direct, it has us looking potentially at our long-term future. It is in its detriment, as I mentioned, but one of the things that can be very positive with Mercury in Sagittarius is writing treaties. Treaties, that type of thing can be very positive. And I hope that that is an activity that will be going on at this time. We've got then Mercury that is direct, going back to its retrograde degree point of 8 degrees of Capricorn. Well, on that day, which is the 20th January 2024, we have something else very important happening. We have the Sun now at 0 degrees of Aquarius, conjunct Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. I think this is very significant, and I would say that around that 20th of January 2024, something very significant will happen with regards to a new start, for sure, with regards to transformation. That's the Pluto part of the Sun, and the Sun is one of the most important things in the chart. But this is really at a global level, and it has us looking at what? Things being equal for all people. Potential humanitarian type things going on. We could, as a separate type thing, though, also have something happen, say, in outer space, or some kind of major electronic breakthrough happens. This can also represent the internet as well. So something major may happen that way, maybe a major thing going forward, but it could also be a breakdown of some sort, too. Now, what's interesting is that, as I mentioned, when Mercury now going direct comes to that degree point of 8 degrees Capricorn on 20th of January, and that we have that Sun at 0 degrees of Aquarius conjuncting Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Wait, there's more. We have, following in February, we have Mercury, then Mars, and then Venus. At what degree? At 0 degrees of Aquarius conjunct Pluto. Now, I'll get into all that when I do my February video, but I wanted to mention it here because to me, this is almost like I saw this as literally electrical connections starting off really at that new moon in Sagittarius in December 2023, followed by all the other things that I just mentioned, and then having these inner planets. So these are fast-moving planets that are going to be hitting that same point that the Sun conjuncts Pluto at, and that's 0 degrees of Aquarius. So I think there's going to be some I see this as a positive thing. I think there's going to be some probably negative things that happen, but then it's going to be followed in 2024 of these awesome things that are going to be happening as a result of the Sun conjunct Pluto, Mercury conjunct Pluto, Mars, and then Venus conjunct Pluto. And it's because it's all at that 0 degree point of Aquarius that really we're talking about big initiation of transformation of these energies, right? And in particular, we're now focusing on Aquarian-like energies. Now, the final thing that's going to be happening, in particular in Palestinian chart, or the Palestine chart, is going to be Saturn, is going to be at 10 degrees of Pisces. And it will be conjuncting Palestine's north node at 10 degrees of Pisces. And that will be in March 2024. So that kind of wraps up what I wanted to talk about with regards to the whole unfolding of events that I think are going to be really initiated at that new moon in Sagittarius on the 12th of December 2023, kind of tying up in March 2023, especially with regards to Palestine and a new direction for them, for their destiny path. All right, so I'm going to go into the ascendants and our sun signs, as always, whatever really resonates with you. Now, there's going to be 2 houses that'll be affected here. So we're looking at the house that's going to be represented by Capricorn, and then the other one will be Sagittarius. So we're going to start off with you, Capricorn, because that's where the Mercury retrograde actually starts. And we've got your 1st and 12th house aspected here. So we know the 1st house is all about you. So there's going to be some kind of reconsideration here with regards to probably how you communicate. It could be something as simple as your thoughts need to be changed, and you decide to maybe think about how you're going to do that. There may be literal aspects of your life that you have to put under consideration for change. Now, when we have that whole Mercury going direct in Sagittarius, we're now looking at your 12th house, Capricorn. And so this speaks to things happening behind the scenes. So it might be as a result of you rethinking parts of your life here, rethinking the way you communicate, that you have to take a rest, that you have to go back maybe into your mind and really look carefully at what might be tripping you up. It can also have you having to visit places that are behind the scenes, like hospitals and ashrams. In fact, I would say that Capricorn, if you are like kind of almost doing this reconsideration of your life, maybe going to something like an ashram or taking a big break from the day-to-day life might be good to get you on whatever path it is that you want to go forward on in your life at this time. All right, take care of yourself, Capricorn. So for Aquarius, we have the Capricorn part of it is your 12th house, and then the Sagittarian part is going to be your 11th house. So the retrograde starts in your 12th house. So there could be something, Aquarius, that happens behind the scenes for you. It could be a secret comes out, for instance. It could be something that you are doing behind the scenes. It could even be the metaphysical world that you are delving into to begin with, and maybe reading books or taking courses or just considering the metaphysical world itself. But it can also have you reconsidering your inner thoughts, your spirituality, that type of thing. It could have you having to deal with things behind the scene. Things like hospitals, ashrams, prisons, government offices all fall under the auspices of the 12th house. It doesn't mean that you have to go to the hospital necessarily, Aquarius. It might mean for some reason, maybe there's an older person that you've got to visit them. But what happens then at the direct motion of Mercury in Sagittarius is that'll be in your 11th house. So the 11th house represents our friends, the groups we belong to. And I'm thinking that, after a period of having to consider things behind the scenes, you're now able to come out and have some fun, maybe with some friends, because Sagittarius is all about, having fun too, right? It could also be that you end up going traveling with friends after being, behind the scenes for some reason. You're then able to maybe take this trip, because Sagittarius can represent travel too. To some extent, it can also represent your dreams, your hopes, your wishes, that type of thing. And certainly Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, likes to bring you gifts and benefits. So maybe for some Aquarians, you will be able to manifest a dream or wish that you've had for some time as well. Take care, Aquarius. All right, so for Pisces. So Pisces, the Mercury retrograde starts in your 11th house, and then it goes direct in your 10th house. So this could play out a few ways for you. The 11th house can represent, for instance, the money that you make in your own business. And then we look at the 10th house, it's your career. So for some Pisces, you may be deciding to, or considering, maybe not having your own business and going back into your career, putting more effort into your career with a future sort of standpoint, right, with that Sagittarius. For others, it could have you working with people that are in groups that you belong to, and maybe you're given some sort of position of authority where you've got to work with groups to make things happen, maybe even put some documents together, or maybe help create a website, that type of thing. Putting structure around things with regards to the groups that you belong to. It could also have you reconsidering friendships as well at this time. And then when it goes, Mercury goes direct in your 10th house, maybe some of these activities that you've been doing in your groups facilitate a whole new beginning with regards to your career, where now you can see the future ahead for your career as a result, maybe what you were doing with these groups that you belong to, or your friends. Or your friends could provide something that's very, very beneficial for you with regards to your career. But the other thing that it could do also, Sagittarius rules travel, foreign places, foreign things. For whatever reason, after that Mercury goes direct, you start traveling a lot more, and it could be traveling for work. It could also have you dealing with people, foreign people, right? Foreign lands for some reason as well, as part of your career. All right, take care, Pisces. So Aries, we have the Mercury going retrograde in your 10th house, and then it's going direct in your 9th house. So here we're starting off Aries with you probably reconsidering your career. Now this can also be your social standing and your reputation as well. It covers that area too. So there may be some kind of reconsideration, I think generally speaking, of where you're at with your career. And like I said, this can be your social standing too. It could just be you taking a reconsideration of where you're putting your effort with regards to your career, and you're rethinking how to do it. It could be renegotiating too contracts, say, on the job as well, Aries. Now, once it goes direct in your 9th house in Sagittarius, this could bring a few things in. Now, positively, the 9th house is ruled by Sagittarius, right? Which is ruled by lucky Jupiter as a planet. So this could have you deciding that you might just want to travel to a foreign land and have a good time. But maybe this is you taking your career into a foreign land, or you deciding to have to travel as a result of this 9th house being activated, right? You could have to maybe go speak. Some Aries may have to go speak in foreign lands, because we're still talking about Mercury here, right? But it could have for some just reconsidering after dealing with your career, saying, you know, I need to take a break here, and I'm going to take this fabulous vacation that I've wanted to take for a long time. So some Aries will be doing that too. For others, it may also mean the 9th house can represent sort of like higher education, right? And so it could be for some Aries that after reconsidering your career that you say, I'm going to go get a Ph.D., I'm going to go get a master's now. And that's the decision that you make when that whole Mercury goes direct in Sagittarius, in your 9th house. Take care, Aries. All right, for Taurus. So Taurus, that whole Mercury retrograde in Capricorn starts off in your 9th house, and then it goes forward in your 8th house. So the 9th house has you, I would say, probably dealing with some kind of reconsideration of structures of some sort. And these could be anything. It could be literally the way you present yourself, the way you think things through, the way maybe you write. Maybe these are all going to be coming under some kind of consideration. For some Taurians, you may actually take a course that really brings up your level of writing in particular and gives it better structure. But it could also be presenting. Maybe you decide to take some kind of speaker training that really is beneficial for you. But it's behind the scenes in some respects where you have to be taking this maybe course where you're writing and taking tests, that type of thing. But then you emerge when we have the Mercury going direct in Sagittarius in your 8th house. And here, there's going to be a few things. I'm thinking more your psychological self is changed in a positive way. Whatever it is, maybe skills that you end up getting. Taurus, you're able to say, wow, this has changed the way I actually am psychologically. And you have a more positive frame of mind regarding yourself as a result of whatever you did to spruce things up. For others, it could bring in a serious relationship, because the 8th house can represent that too, a serious sexual relationship. If it is, it will be very positive for you. It will be putting you in a positive frame of mind. But it can also bring in money for you. I mean, the 8th house and 2nd house are money houses. Now, typically, we talk about the 8th house being, savings, mortgages, taxes, that type of thing. And it could be that you leverage an investment. You get a severance that you are able to use for yourself. It can be all these different things for you. But in Sagittarius, this is very positive, right? It's certainly going to leave you in a positive state of mind. That's what I really liked about this. And giving you a better view of your future financially. All right, take care, Taurus. So for Gemini, this Mercury retrograde starts in your 8th house, and then when it goes forward, it is in your 7th house. Kind of exciting. So when we start off with the 8th house, we are looking at you considering maybe things psychologically. There may be some Geminis that are actually undergoing some psychological therapy that's a great benefit, that helps you structure your mind better. For others, it could have you, really looking carefully at your savings, your investments, your mortgages, your taxes, your credit cards. And for still others, it could have somebody come in that's a serious sexual relationship for you that you're really seriously considering. Now, it might be with an older person because we're talking about Capricorn here. So it's all these areas that can be affected. More likely, it's going to be to do with some kind of investments in finances, savings and that, where you really carefully start looking at your money in those areas, right? But then this is going to lead to Mercury going direct in your 7th house. So that's kind of really positive here. So that could lead to a business partnership, for instance. And the business partnership could be with foreign people, foreign lands. It could be to do with universities, because Sagittarius is where this is going direct. And Sagittarius does rule higher learning, like those places, universities. It could also have you literally deciding to travel. And it's going to maybe be traveling with your significant other, or with, say, business partnerships, or some kind of business opportunity comes up that involves travel. And it may come through, say, university setting as well. The 7th house can represent a marriage partner too. So there may be some Geminis that, have some kind of communications with regards to somebody that comes into their life. And this person may be a foreign person. That may be a marriage partner contender at this time. But I'm seeing more likely, personally, for you, Gemini, is probably more than likely going to be some kind of travel involved here, and foreign people, foreign things, with a flavor of the university type energy as well. Take care, Gemini. All right, for Cancer. So Cancer, that whole Mercury retrograde starts in your opposite sign of Capricorn, so that's your 7th house. And then it ends up going forward in your 6th house. So this really puts a focus on your partnerships, your business partnerships, as well as your serious partners, like usually this is a marriage partner, but it could be other people as well are significant at this time. Maybe a financial advisor or something like that. A government employee comes forward with some information that you need to consider. Maybe some communications of some sort. Maybe you've got to work at restructuring, say, a business partnership. That would be more likely here for you. And that's what's under consideration at the Mercury retrograde start in December. But then we go on, right, to the 6th house. Now, the 6th house can represent your day-to-day work. So it would be a natural corollary to go from a business partnership, right, when Mercury goes retrograde in Capricorn, to the direct in Sagittarius in your 6th house. So a big tie-in, say, with a business partnership of some sort. But this is, hey, this gives some positive stuff here. If you do have this area of your day-to-day job, and if you don't work, it's the day-to-day activities that you have, there's a really lovely sort of beneficial energy that goes with Sagittarius and your day-to-day job or your day-to-day activities that you do. But it can also usher in some good health here too. Beneficial health can happen as well. Especially with regards to the ruler of Sagittarius, with his, of course, is Jupiter. And Jupiter can be a teacher or an advisor as well. So for some lucky Cancers, you may have somebody come in here that provides you with some direction, either in your job or your health. That's going to be a benefit for you, right? Whatever it is, it's going to have you seeing a brighter future for yourself with regards to your day-to-day job, your day-to-day activities, and or your health. Take care, Cancer. All right, for Leo. So Leo, that Mercury retrograde starts in your 6th house, and then it ends up going direct in your 5th house. So the 6th house has you considering or reconsidering maybe your job. Maybe you're going to be negotiating a higher salary, or maybe it's going to have you negotiating a new job, period, right? That may bring it in for you at that Mercury retrograde. But then it's going to go on. And it might be with, by the way, that Mercury retrograde, because it's Saturn is associated with Capricorn. It might be with your supervisors that you're in some kind of negotiations behind the scenes with supervisors or people, above you. It could even have you considering a position in your day-to-day job that is higher up, where you take on some new responsibilities. For some Leos, that's going to be what you're doing. In terms of negotiating and looking at various things and collecting information. But then it's going to follow by that whole 5th house here with Sagittarius to the 4 when Mercury goes direct. And that's super positive for you, Leo, because why? Because that whole Sagittarius is a fire sign like you and it trines your sign. It's awesome. Now the 5th house can bring in a creative project for you. And when I connect that in with the 6th house, which you started off with the Mercury retrograde, Leo, I would say more than likely this is going to be an opportunity to have this fabulous creative project. And it may have you connecting in with foreign people or foreign things, universities. It could involve travel, though. Yeah, so there may be more travel that comes up for you with regards to this creative project that may come your way. And you may be working with foreign people on this creative project too. But the 5th house also represents children. So for other people, it could have, say, your children literally maybe taking up some kind of foreign connection. Maybe they're going to do a year abroad or something like that. And that's a big thing that comes out once we see this Mercury going direct. It can also be an initial love in your life too. And so this could usher in somebody that may be foreign. That's an important love in your life as well. The other thing is that the 5th house represents having fun. So it's like you start off with the Mercury retrograde, working hard and figuring out your day-to-day job or day-to-day activities. And then as that Mercury goes retrograde, it gives you opportunities to actually have fun, maybe fun with children, with the love that you have, etc. And some of that fun may involve travel. All right, take care, Leo. Okay, so then we look at Virgo. Virgo, we have that Mercury retrograde in a fellow Earth sign of Capricorn, and it's your 5th house, followed by Mercury going direct in Sagittarius in your 4th house. So let's start off with the Mercury going retrograde in your 5th house. So the 5th house can represent you I would say maybe restructuring, reconsidering, especially say it's a writing project where you have to maybe redo some things of a creative project and you're working behind the scenes in some way, redoing some work or restructuring a creative project of some sort. For others, it could have you having to restructure some way that you're dealing with your children. And this could literally be a parenting style, right? Because we're talking about Capricorn ruled by Saturn. Saturn likes to lay down the rules. It could be that maybe you've got to reconsider how you lay down the rules, or your children ask you to reconsider that, and you have to restructure something in that area. It could bring in, for those, say, in their own business, a restructuring of your own business, because the fifth house can represent that too. It can also bring in a restructuring maybe with regards to how you deal with the love in your life. It can also, because Saturn's involved here, it could have you restructuring how you deal with your love life, but it could also have some endings for some Virgos as well, where you decide that this isn't working for you, that you don't want to put more effort into it. Remember, Saturn represents effort. But if you're willing to put the effort into it and you see this as something long-term, it could pay off very well for you. Either way, you've got to reconsider, right? Reconsider and think things through at the Mercury retrograde. Now, once that goes direct, we're looking at your fourth house of home, generally speaking. So it's your fourth house of home, your mother, and by extension, your family, and then, of course, your habits too. For some Virgos, this could have you deciding as a result of maybe some kind of project and working with maybe superiors that you need to go overseas, that you have to relocate overseas. Why? Because Sagittarius represents things like foreign people, foreign things. So for some Virgos, that may be up for you. The other thing is, just straight off the bat, is that you could have some real good luck come in for you with regards to maybe buying or selling a home. Now that would be represented by someone who's, say, an expert. Why? Because we're talking about the ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter. And that is usually represented by someone who's a teacher and or an advisor of some sort too. So you may have some lucky person come in that reflects very well with regards to the home that you live in, or the home you want to buy. What else could that be? I mean, your mother could, for some reason, be up with regards to travel. Maybe your mother has decided that she would like to come and live with you, but it's a positive thing. Or you may have to get involved with either your mother or your family with regards to maybe the family home. Or there's some, I'm thinking that it's positive, Virgo. This would be an ideal time to decide to, with your family and maybe your mother as well, as part of that family, take a trip of a lifetime together. Or get together as a family reunion. That's what I'm thinking. And that family reunion, you may decide, hey, let's go to this fabulous place overseas or in a foreign land that everybody really would love to go to. That sounds really optimistic and positive to me. Take care, Virgo. So for Libra, that retrograde starts in your fourth house, and then it ends up going forward in your third house. And so here we're talking about you potentially having to take on new responsibilities of some sort or consider responsibilities of a home. Now, that literally could have you, or some Librans, deciding I'm going to buy a home here, and that's what you're doing in terms of your thoughts and any information that you're collecting, that you want to buy a home. And so during that retrograde, you start collecting all your information, start thinking things through, consulting with people, blah, 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 maybe signing some contracts. But it can also have you having to deal with your family and or your mother. And I would say more importantly, probably your mother, because why? Capricorn really looks at someone older. So for some Librans, you may have to deal with your mother and maybe by extension your family, and really work hard communicating, but not coming up with a final plan, but putting the plan together, say for your mother or your family at this time, for some reason. Now, when we get that Mercury going direct in Sagittarius in your third house, Libra, this has you now, after considering many things, coming out and presenting the plan, saying, this is how we're going to go forward. Now, that third house also does cover family to some extent. It's your siblings. It's your neighborhood. It could represent a writing project of some sort as well. And communications of any sort is what this rules. And it also can be commercial sales projects as well. But I think this is you, for most Librans, I think it's going to have you having a communication put out with regards to the plan for the future of the family, of the mother. And that's what's involved, I think, in this whole, I'm getting that as a very strong intuitive message for most Librans. But it could have you deciding also to take some kind of trip with your siblings. And I get that from Mercury going direct in Sagittarius in the third house that is ruled by areas like siblings, right? And then Sagittarius represents potentially taking some travel with them. Okay, I like that. Take care, Libra. So Scorpio. Scorpio, we're looking at that Mercury going retrograde in your third house of communications, and then going direct in your second house. So this could play out like a writing project that you had in the past. That's kind of very Saturnian and Capricorn. Or a supervisor comes to you with this writing project and says, I want you to rewrite this. It may not be your project, maybe it's someone else did it, but it needs to be restructured and rewritten. So that may come up for you around that Mercury retrograde start. It could also have you, though, dealing with your siblings of some sort. For some reason, you may have to be in communications with them to put together maybe some plan of some sort. It can also be your neighbors and neighborhood, so there may be some project you have to work on or some reason that you're in communications with, maybe a planning project of some sort for the neighborhood or neighbors. That could also be a third house thing. For other Scorpios, it could have you revamping and going back to school to take some courses to revamp how you speak, how you present yourself, maybe taking some kind of speaker training course to bring you up to speed. It can also have, for some others, going back to maybe brush up your writing skills. That could also be in the mix for you. But let me tell you that once that Mercury goes retrograde in your second house, this could mean an increase in income for you. It could mean a potential new job for you. Now, that new job and new income could involve travel. It could also involve you working with universities or foreign people or foreign things. But for sure, your value, Scorpio, is going to go up as a result of whatever it is that you're doing at the Mercury retrograde, kind of behind the scenes or reconsidering, reformulating. You're going to have your value go up. And as a result of your value going up, better income. And maybe for some Scorpios, a whole new job with more income for you and more benefits. Jupiter in Sagittarius likes to bring in benefits. And Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, where that Mercury goes direct for you, Scorpio. All right, take care, Scorpio. All right, so for Sagittarius, Mercury retrograde goes retrograde in your second house. And then it goes direct in your sign, Sagittarius, in your first house. Awesome! So we start off with the Mercury retrograde, you having to, potentially look at the income that you're earning. Maybe even the way you are spending your money comes into big review, where you have to collect all the facts and the information of how you've been spending your money, because maybe your money's running out. Or you don't have enough of it and you wonder why. Where's it all going to? For others, it could just say, I don't want to do this job where I'm earning my money anymore. It doesn't really interest me. It could have, for others, more positively, say working with a supervisor, that's the Capricorn part of it, to up your income, to produce more value. And you work with this supervisor or manager, say, to increase your value and therefore increase your income. But hey, when Mercury goes direct, Sagittarius, that could very well be what happens. I mean, you're a very lucky sign. And to have that Mercury retrograde go direct in your sign speaks to your value definitely increasing, no question of it. It also speaks to you to be taking on probably some new, could be a writing project. Maybe you decide to start writing something. It could have you doing anything with regards to people that are foreign lands, foreign people. Maybe even universities are going to come into view for you. Maybe you'll take an advanced education. The law may be also part of the mix. But you know, at its real core, Sagittarius and Jupiter really speaks to meaning in life. So whatever it is that you reconsider with regards to your value and your income, that's going to lead to you having, you know, this better view of your whole meaning in life, what means something to you. And that may be reflected in a new job where you earn new money and you're valued. And that gives you more meaning in your life, right? All right. Take care, Sagittarius. All right, I'm going to wrap up here by just bringing up a few things back into focus for you. I want to talk about the fact that that new moon in Sagittarius is a kickoff of these energies. We've got that yod happening, which really points to, you know, changes that we need to make with regards to the way we've done what? Relationship, diplomatic relations, social stuff even, along with that new moon and the sun together, forming that yod. So it really does point to the new moon as being a kickoff time period, right? So that's the 12th of December, 2023. And then the other thing I want to mention is the degrees, right? So for something significant to happen, you really do need to have something happening at the degree points of what? We're looking at, for Mercury going retrograde, that's going to be at 8 degrees. And then when we're looking at Sagittarius, Mercury going direct is at 22 degrees. Now, I actually have, just out of a personal standpoint, I actually have my Mercury at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. So I'm expecting some big, some kind of communications of some sort that are going to be important for me to move forward in my future in January. All right, I'm going to leave you with the fact that the benefit that's going to happen around the 31st of December 2023 is, yay, Jupiter is going to be going forward. And that's the ruler of that new moon that happens on the 12th of December. So look also at the 31st of December 2023 of some really bright, optimistic, positive outlook for your future, and also for the future potentially of some foreign nations and foreign people. All right, everybody, stay tuned for my upcoming video for December. That will follow shortly. Take care, everybody. I'm sending everyone lots of love and lots of positive thinking at this Mercury retrograde. Bye for now.